Welcome to Salisbury University on the Air, a program highlighting the activities and the people of the campus. My name is Susan Purnell. Can memory be improved? I sure hope so. Joshua Foer thought so. The Washington, D.C. native chronicled his year-long quest for memory improvement in the international bestseller, Moonwalking with Einstein, this year's new student reader book at SU. With us today is Melissa Boog, SU Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs and new Student Reader Committee member, to tell us more. Well, welcome back, Melissa.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I had fun with you last year. I'm really excited to see you again this year.
Me too. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So before we start discussing this year's selection, can you tell us a little bit about the new Student Reader Program, how many years it's been around?
Sure. We introduced this in 2005, and so this is our 11th year doing the new Student Reader at Salisbury University.
What was the idea behind it?
So from the onset, it's our Student Affairs Division and Academic Affairs have come together and work collaboratively. And the idea behind it originally was to just give each of our students, our incoming students, a shared experience. We have a lot of research that shows that students, when they go away to college, if they can find something to connect them to the institution and to connect them to what they're learning, they make a much easier transition and do well academically. And so our hope was that we could connect them to each other, connect them to the staff members at Salisbury, faculty, other students, and really give them a peek into what it's going to look like to be working at the college level.
I think it's great, that common experience that they all come to school with. Do you think it's worked?
Absolutely. I think it's done all the things that we hoped it would, and then some more. I mean, over the years, we've been able to add in some personal interactions, oftentimes with the author of the book that we use each year. And then the other thing we're really excited about is expanding it to the outside of campus community. So we have an event I'm happy to talk about for that's open for the whole community.
Yeah, I want to get to that. But tell me, what are some of the other books that have been part of the Student Reader Program?
We've had some great ones, and they've been, although sometimes have a common theme, lots of different things. So we started with, our very first one was Funny and Farsi. We've done a book called Picking Cotton. We've done a book called Journey from the Land of No. We've done Into the Wild. Most recently, we did a book that was very popular, called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
I know, that's what we talked about last year, and after we talked, I went and read it, and oh my gosh, it had a great impact on me.
Great.
And I'm sure it did on the students as well.
I think so.
And you also had the family of Henrietta here, didn't you?
We did. So normally what we like to do is invite the author to come and speak to our incoming students, and that's not always something that we're able to do. Last year, Rebecca Skloot, who wrote that book, was abroad working on her next novel, so we understood why she couldn't be with us, and instead we brought the family of Henrietta Lacks to campus, and they spoke to the campus community that night before. They did a lot of interacting with our students the next day when they were moving into campus, and it was really powerful.
Yeah, and that was something I really wish I hadn't missed, because after I read the book, I really wanted to talk to the family.
Yes.
You know, that was a great book.
They were wonderful.
Love that. How are the books selected each year?
So what we do, there's a small committee that I help with, and what we do is we do an all-call to campus. And so we ask our staff members, faculty members, our current students to suggest books to us that they think would be a good match for the program. And then we go through those books. Oftentimes there are books that will cross over. Maybe 2 or 3 different people have recommended the same book. We'll go through those, and then the committee will choose somewhere between 5 and 8, depending on the year, to read. And then we all come together and we talk about the pros and cons of each and select it that way.
Oh, so every committee member reads all of these books?
That's right.
Gosh.
That's right.
That's an interesting book club. That's interesting. This year's selection is Moonwalking with Einstein by Joshua Foer. What can you tell us about that?
Right, so it is a first-person account. This is Joshua Foer discussing his experience with covering as a journalist the United States National Memory Championship. And so he goes and he covers this and he meets some interesting characters. He's intrigued by what they can do and how they were able to do it, and he decides to give it a try himself. So he starts studying and working on his memory throughout the year, and I won't give too much away, but he does end up participating in the national championship a year later.
They can't tell me if he won.
I can't.
It would
You'll
be
have
spoiling
to read
the,
it.
okay.
That's right.
The book
and a
for
lot
everybody.
happens along the way that's
Right.
really, I think, impactful and will be great for our incoming students.
Would you be giving too much away if you told me why the name Moonwalking with Einstein?
No, I can do that. So it is Moonwalking with Einstein, and kind of the subtitle is the art and science of remembering everything. And so while there are some kind of comical tales that he tells about his experience, the other thing that he covers are kind of ancient ways to hone in on your memory and to literally be able to remember just about anything. And one of the ways that you can do that is by conjuring up an image or some sort of an association that will help you remember something that may seem unrelated. And so this example, Moonwalking with Einstein, is strange, right? If you think about it, think about Albert Einstein, in penny loafers and a shiny glove and moonwalking across the floor. The thought is that the stranger or the more unique these images are in your mind, it will be even more helpful in remembering what you're connecting it with. And so that's an example of an image that you can use.
That's interesting. I was trying to remember the author's name before talking to you, and I'm 28 pages into the book. So the way that the people that Joshua met, remembered his name was, I was joshing so loudly that I was divided into four, and so I can remember Joshua 4, and probably will always remember Joshua 4.
Right.
I'm really interested in these tips because, well, my mom had Alzheimer's, and so of course I'm wondering when it's going to rear its ugly
Present
head.
itself, right.
Exactly. So any tips I can get on memory. I'm going to finish this book.
And it is. That's the thing. And I think for our incoming students, knowing how much knowledge they're going to be taking in, there are certainly some arguments about just rote memorization not being the best way to learn. But this is going to be, I think, helpful to all of our students and community members for a lot of the reasons like you just shared.
So those who are attending this event in Purdue,
Yes.
which is free.
It is.
Right?
Yes,
Okay,
free
good.
to the public.
Are they encouraged to read the book before they come?
Absolutely. I mean, I think anybody who comes is going to find him entertaining. I think they can learn a lot from him that day. However, much like our students and that connection, I think we find that the people who have read the book before they come, there's always time for questions and answers and that kind of thing. And I think it would be a better experience.
Yeah, I think that's a good
them.
piece of advice.
Yes.
Great. Now, Mr. Foer is coming to campus, correct?
He is.
Right. And will we as a community have a chance to interact with him?
Yes, Thursday, August 27th, he will be speaking free of charge, open to the public at Purdue Hall's auditorium. And so we encourage people to read the book, if they can beforehand, and come out and see him.
I will be there because any tricks I can learn to not lose my memory, I want to learn them.
And afterward, if I
Yeah.
should add that he is going to stick around after his talk with the community and sign books. So if people have copies, they can bring them.
Oh, that's great. Now, take me through this new reader program. So the students have all read the book
Yes.
that are incoming freshmen, right? And they break into little small groups. Can you walk me through then what happens?
Yes, and so what happens is when they come to orientation in June, about 100 to 120 students come each day for a 2-week period in June, and part of their orientation experience is that they're given a copy of the book. And so everything that we pick should be something they can read between that latter part of June and when they return in mid-August to campus. And so hopefully they've done that. They've had this shared experience already. They communicate sometimes on social media before they even get to campus. And then after convocation, which is the official welcome to campus academically, where he will speak to the students, address them that day, welcoming them to campus, and in some way.
Is that on the 27th?
That is actually the next day.
Okay.
Yes, and that's just for the students and our faculty members. So this is kind of the official kickoff to the academic year. Afterward, they will break up into groups, and it will be either staff members or faculty members at Salisbury University will help to facilitate discussions about that book and about perhaps the conversation he had with them that morning.
And have the students been given any other opportunities to immerse themselves in this book?
Yes, and that's grown an awful lot too since 2005 when we started the program. Right now what we do is we require all students that summer before they join us, after they've read the book, to submit in-depth reflective questions, a series of questions, things that just have made them think while they've been reading. So nothing just surface or logistical.
It's not a book report.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Just what has this made you think about, and what ideas have you come up with? So we ask them all to do that. We also provide an opportunity for, not all, but a select number will participate in an essay contest. And so they can write, again, a reflective essay on what they've read and what they've learned. And what's really neat about that is that then a small committee will read those essays, and the top winners are invited to dinner with the president of the university, our provost, and the author that very day that they move into school.
That's exciting. How many are chosen?
It varies year to year. Sometimes we have a really large response, sometimes it's a smaller response, but we usually have the top 2 or 3 are invited to dinner. They can bring their families with them, so they've moved in that day, they freshen up, and then their families get to see them interacting with the president of the university, again, the provost, and the author, and that's always a really neat experience.
That is. Boy, first day of freshman year,
Right.
I met with an author and
It's
discussed
an
his
honor,
book. It is
certainly.
an honor, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the selection of the book every year, about your committee that you're on. What do you do? How do you go about? I know you said a little bit about that earlier. Anything else you want to add?
Well, once we get those books, and we, as I said, read a handful of them and decide we're really looking for something that is going to resonate with all students. Although, because we have so many different majors and minors and opportunities at Salisbury, we try to vary it a bit. Last year, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, as an example, had a large medical component to it. We have a lot of students that come that are interested in pursuing something in the health field, and so it may be that. Sometimes it has more of a liberal arts feel, or maybe speaks more to social injustice. And we certainly have majors at Salisbury that are going to help students go out in the world and hopefully change it when they leave here. And so we look for something that we think will resonate with students. It of course needs to be something that, again, they can read between the end of June and that middle part of August. So we want it to challenge them without discouraging them in any way. And we're hoping that we can bring either the author or maybe a family member or someone to campus that can speak to that book and further connect them to
Well, I think this is a great choice this year because it's about learning.
Right.
And that's what this institution is all about.
That's right. And there's this kind of underlying message too that, anything's possible if you put your mind to it. He's very open in talking about his memory being very average, and he was a hard worker and was a journalist and certainly had knowledge, but it was out of his comfort zone to challenge himself the way that he did, and yet ends up very successful at it. And I think that's a great message for our incoming students to try things that are different and see what other students and faculty members and staff members have to offer and go for it.
I feel it's so interesting that you really can learn to, for example, remember 52 cards in a deck and
Right.
the order that they're in. by the different devices that the mnemonic and other devices that they talk to you about in this book. And again, I'm only 28 pages in, but I did read a few reviews too.
Yes.
And so I'm very anxious to finish the book and hopefully improve my own memory.
Right.
I am particularly interested in the names. Because I find as I'm getting older, I forget people's names that have been wonderful customers throughout, associates throughout the years. And I am daggone, I'm going to learn how to remember people's names from now on. Hopefully this will help me in that.
I think so, and that's a big one. I've heard, I'm the same way myself. I remember faces always and connections and can tell you stories, but sometimes the names will escape me. We actually have a fun little contest that we're running this year for our incoming students. And we have a series of words and a series of numbers. And then we also have a series of names with the images beside them that throughout the summer the students can work using some of the tools that Forward teaches us in this book to remember these things. And we're going to have a contest when the students arrive to campus to see who might be able to do the series of numbers or the series of words or remember those faces. Oftentimes it was the faces that they met at orientation or important people on campus that you should know and know who they are and what they do. And the winners will go into a drawing for a nice prize.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we're excited. So each year we try to find something, other ways you asked about connecting them to it.
Well, I think it's a great way to start the year. And again, establishing that common bond among everyone on campus, right from the get-go.
Right.
Do you have any idea what the book's going to be next year? Or are you just starting on that process? Or I bet you know.
Well, we actually don't know. Yeah. We have not settled on our book yet, but we do have, we did the all-call last semester from campus. And again, it was a mix of, sometimes it's the students that just come up with such great choices. But the students and faculty and staff, they've given us some really great ones to choose from. We're in the process of doing that now. So I can't share the name of the book, but perhaps next year you can invite me back so we can talk about it.
Oh, you're invited. I love this discussion with you every year. It makes me think, and that's really important, and that's what books do.
Yes.
And so it's a great to have you again this year. I think anybody who hasn't read this book, who cares at all about their own memory, ought to, and I know I'll finish it now. And I thank you again for being with me, Melissa.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
And now here are some of the events happening at the university in September. I'd like to thank my guest, Melissa Boog, SU Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs and new Student Reader Committee member. And a big welcome to all the new students participating in this program. And now here's another look at the activities on the campus in September. As for the thousands of others returning to SU this fall, welcome back. Wishing you an enjoyable and successful academic year. I'm Susan Purnell, and this has been Salisbury University on the Air. Thank you for watching.